I'd like to thank everybody for attending the Winter City Council meeting for Monday, May 15th, 2023. This time, the City of Winter will do a roll call.
Councilman Clay?
Here.
Councilman Frank?
Here.
Councilman Hockett?
Here.
Councilman Klunt?
Here.
Councilman Schramm?
Here.
Councilman Sprinkle?
Here.
If you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, having had time to review your packets, are there any conflict of interest in either agenda? Consent or paid? Hearing none, Chair will move on. Council, having had time to review the packet, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exclusion of item number 2.
Very good. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Frank has made a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exclusion of item number 2. Councilman Sprinkle has seconded that motion. Floor is open to comment or question.
Why are we excluding number 2?
Well, we went live with our Encode 10 AR in April, and when I was running the reports, it now says that everything we billed out was considered cash in the bank, so we have an extra $1 million in the bank. So it's just a reporting issue that we are trying to fix so that it shows our correct numbers.
Can we make a motion to spend that?
That's why I don't want you to approve it.
Any other questions? Hearing none, Chair will call the question. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda with the exclusion of item number 2, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, would you please say nay? Ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously 6-0. Go ahead.
For the public's information, it's a resignation of Melissa Cook from Dispatch Communications and resignation of Sierra Shields from Dispatch Communications.
Council, moving on. Having had time to review your packets for this evening, is there a motion on the regular agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Councilman Klunt has made a motion to approve the agenda as presented. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. For the record, the current agenda lists 2 executive sessions. There will be a 3rd executive session added to the tail end of this agenda. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Chair will call the question. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented with the addition of an executive session for personnel at the end, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion passes unanimously 6-0. City of Winter now moves on to recognition of visitors and communications. As with all city council meetings, the City of Winter makes a 10-minute window open to anybody to address the city council. Is there any public input this evening? Hearing and seeing none, Chair will move on to our first communication from the City of Winter, the fuel bids.
Fuel bids for May 10th. Number 2 dyed diesel, vol and oil. Number 1 diesel, vol and oil. 50/50, vol and oil. Regular unleaded, vol and oil. Propane, CHS. Fuel oil, 310. Vol and oil, sorry, that was the price. And then from May 3rd, it is the same. Number 2 dyed diesel, vol and oil. Number 1 diesel, Volun Oil, 50/50 Volun Oil, regular unleaded Volun Oil, propane, CHS, fuel oil, Volun Oil.
Our next communication will come from the HR department. New hires from Chandra Phillips.
Too many papers, gotta find the right one. Do you have it? Thank you. Under corrections, full-time, 6-month probation, and full benefits, Maji Shlovic at $19.65 per hour, and Kyle Grimm, $19.65 per hour, corrections, full-time, 6-month probation, and full benefits. And final full-time employee would be Rusty Arthur at $18.85 per hour in the Parks Department, full-time, full benefits, 6-month probation. Under the pool, there was 5 lifeguards offered, only 4 accepted, and that would be Addison Provacek, Hannah Danford, Livy Otis, and Alexis Klein at $12.90 per hour, 6-month probation, although they are not employed for a full 6 months, and then no benefits.
The next communication comes from the City of Winter regarding the 2022 Secretary's Award for Drinking Water Excellence. The City of Winter was recognized along with Troy Kruger, Mark Leibrick, Matthew Schroeder, and Ricky Hespy for the Drinking Water Excellence Award. The Certificate of Achievement expresses by virtue of authority vested in the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and after due consideration, they certify that these 4 gentlemen, through extra concern and endeavor, have enabled the Winter Public System to meet all state requirements for safe drinking water and has enabled the drinking water system to supply safe drinking water to the public that they serve here in Winter. So I'd like to take a moment, Dan, if you would. Troy is absent tonight due to illness, but I would definitely like to recognize Matt, Ricky, and Mark for their contributions. So he's gonna make you guys scrunch together.
And then everybody's about the wall.
Actually, I don't need to
You can get it.
No, these guys already have me. These guys choose.
All right.
See you guys.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, guys. See you.
Thank you, Matt and Mark. All right, so City of Winter now will move on to oaths of office. Elected officials have always in the City of Winter taken an oath of office. It's a new, and actually, it should be a requirement of the appointed officials that you approve that as appointed officers of the City of Winter, that they should also take the same oath that you as councilmen do. So if I can have Justin, Mr. Jensen, and Chandra meet me in front, I would like to go ahead and administrate the oath of office. Let's see if I do it as well as you, Paul. I'm gonna take the elevator. Raise your right hands. I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of your office
And I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
of the City of Winter, Trip County, South Dakota,
of the city of Winter, Trip County, South Dakota,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Now I'm going to have you guys sign before we leave tonight, not necessarily at this moment, unless you'd like to. That concludes public input, recognition of visitors, and communications from the City of Winter. City of Winter will now move on to department reports. Our first report tonight is from Justin Day, Public Safety Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we will go ahead and start tonight with the dispatch activities. As you can see, over 2,000 incidents entered into computer-aided dispatch. Of those, 842 were 911 calls, and then there was an additional 4,035 administrative calls for the rest of this week. We plan on doing interviews for one lieutenant position, one full-time position, as well as one of the open part-time positions that we have. Flipping over, you'll see what the PSAP did for the month between April 17th and May 14th. That was for all the counties that we contract with. The next page is just what the Winter Police Department ended up getting called to and dealt specifically with them. Next, we will move over to the Winter Police Department. Officer Preston Fitzgerald, he ended up starting with the police department on April 25th. He is going into his 4th week of field training. Within that time, he and part-time officer Mitch Miller passed their firearms qualification. And then the officers assisted with traffic control for Feeding South Dakota, which was held on Friday, May 5th. And I will give an update that that was the smoothest it has ever gone. Of any time I've ever helped out down there, that was as smooth as I've ever seen it. The next Feeding South Dakota will be June 2nd. And then our new patrol officer hire will be starting next week. And then Officer Aide, who is currently up at LET, only has 3 weeks left until graduation. Then he will be back and in rotation. We did also complete our annual TASER certification on April 28th, and it was actually the instructor, Officer Kane Cordum, who became an instructor when he was here at the Winter PD, so there was no charge for this training. And then it is just another update for the public. Officers are continuing to focus their time on working traffic, especially in the construction zone and the other areas of town when they are not working other calls to service within the city. On to corrections, we have 149 today. We are averaging 161 for the year and 154 for the month. You can see billing for the month of April was $373,407, and then transports were just under that 10,000 mark. With the 24/7 program, we have 29 overall participants, and then it's broke down with 15 on PBTs, 9 on UAs, and 2 are on the Scram. And then from April 9th to May 15th, there were 42 transports. And then the rest of this week, we continue to schedule interviews for the open positions.
Council, any questions for Mr. Day? Thank you, Justin.
I do have one update as well, which I will need to get with Paul and you to see what you want to do there. I did get an email today from Adam Green on the sirens, and they are planning on mobilizing and fixing next week. So I just got that email late this afternoon, and so I'll have you guys look at that tomorrow, but they will be here next week to get everything fixed.
Thank you. Our next scheduled report is from Public Works Director Troy Kruger, but he is absent this evening due to illness. So we'll move on to Finance Officer Chandra Phillips for her report.
Are you all buckled in and ready for my information? I know you love hearing it every time.
As with public input, 10 minutes.
Good information. Okay. With that being said, I have two updates from MRES. The first one is a winner graduate this year was actually awarded a $1,000 renewable up to 4 years scholarship through MRES for being one of our city utility customers. She will be here tomorrow morning at the Finance Committee meeting. She had a baseball game tonight, so wasn't able to attend, and we'll have that broadcast over the Finance Committee meeting, but that would be Melanie Brozick. So just FYI, some great things happening in our city. The other thing from MRES, they put out a publication every quarter, I believe, and or actually it looks like every month. They wrote an article about the city of Winter. Unfortunately, their facts are a little off. They say that we established our electric utility in 1948. Well, according to my ballot, it was 1949, which means 75 years next year for the electric utility in City of Winter. So, nice little write-up about the City of Winter, minus that, but it's good to read. So if you don't have it, each one of you as an elected official should be getting one of those too, and it is available in the office. ExecuTime Encode update. Today was our first day to go live with dual clock-ins for certain employees, and well, we had nothing but problems, which is why we do test environment. I was actually on the phone with ExecuTime until about 6 o'clock tonight trying to get our time clocks to work. They are able to log in via the web, but there seems to be a communication error from our server to the time clocks, and so they will continue to work with DT on that to get that fixed so that we do have 4 live test time clocks in locations. First location is up here, you've probably seen it. It's kind of buried behind the totes right now. Another one at Law Enforcement Center, one at North Shop, and one at the electric shop. So we hope to be good there, but the employees that are on the dual are supposed to be already clocking in via the web interface that they have. They can go in, enter their time off, enter anything they want to in there, and start practicing from there. I have been assured we cannot break it, although I think that is incorrect since we still can't use the time clocks. Encode update, we are 100% live with Encode 10, no longer in 9. Unfortunately, when we moved over AR from 9 to 10, there's a communication error. Very possibly could just be in the reports that I run, that it created it as a cash received versus a net liability, or excuse me, a net asset. So as we work on that, I will get that out to you guys as quickly as possible as soon as I get that corrected information. Budget, I understand we're 2 weeks behind now, so I apologize. Printed revenues off tonight, handed Mayor Brozick his copy, and then we'll print expense sheets off tomorrow. They do look different than what you've ever seen. The reason for that is because with Encode, we can actually, I can go in and enter the information into the spreadsheet and then upload it automatically into ExecuTime from there. So then it kind of helps with some of those, when code enforcement, who has 1 employee, suddenly has 150,000 in workman's comp, it's because I added a couple extra zeros. So hopefully this will help alleviate some of those typographical errors. It does have the 2020 budget on there, or actually it doesn't have the 2020 budget. It has the total received in each line for 2020. For 2021 and 2022, it'll show what was budgeted versus what was received. And then for 2023, it shows the budget and where we are at currently. So it'll look different, but I'll get that out to you guys right away. Our utilities department has been working very hard with the electric. Unfortunately, with our time clock situation, we kind of took out the utility billing today for a couple hours as well, and payroll. So trying to get all that configured today so that we can get them completed, so late notices can go out. But she's been very busy working with Landis & Gear and getting everything situated. We are able to read the Landis & Gear meters now. Our problem lies in the I-form. And what I-form is it takes the new meter information from outside source, brings it into Encode. Encode then uploads it into Command Center, which is the Landis & Gear reading system, and then it all communicates to itself through there. So when it works, it will be beautiful. Accounts Payable has been working on some new procedures with scanning, so now every invoice that goes through gets scanned into that particular payment, and the PO and everything goes in with that, and that's going to be very, very helpful for when Troy and Justin get Encode on their computers. It's my understanding Troy has it, we're just waiting on the DT, I believe, to get it onto Justin's computer so that we can have that training with them. So then when they open any invoice or anything within their departments, they can actually click on it to see the PO, make sure that their department head filled it out correctly. If there's a quote form, make sure that that was filled out as well. HR and myself have been very busy working with new ExecuTime and getting the info into the system, and then other duties as HR needs. The only other thing, I do want to recap what was talked about in personnel this morning. A very brief recap. You all received in your packets as council these lovely colored pages. And I believe there was a couple things were a little confusing to folks when they were reading it. So there's 5 items here. The first one is how we actually budgeted, because when we approved the 2022 budget, 2023 budget, in 2022, we approved it with a 3.25% raise and 25-cent shift differential. We now know that we did not just do 3.25, we actually did up to 7.25, and you guys have also approved a policy that says 50-cent differential and including weekends. So what you have down at the very, very bottom, current wages, that is with the 50-cent differential and with the 7 to 7.25%. The other difference is in your original budget, 35.5 full-time employees were budgeted for. This has 33.5 full-time employees budgeted for. When we went through the exercise of filling in salaries, adjustments, starting wage, filling in the OASI, which is a percentage of how much everyone makes, retirement a percentage, there's really only one option that still falls underneath what your original budget was, and that would be option number 1. So that's what we discussed in personnel this morning. So from my standpoint, from a financial standpoint, option number 1 is your better option financially. From an HR standpoint, we did go through and review, and you'll see the options that were given to you as well, that a couple different usages were put in there. Some of it is based off of your title. So as a CO, you are at least going to make up to what the starting wage is if you're 3 years and under. Everyone will get a $1.75 raise. That's a pretty substantial raise, even for 3 years and under. 5 years and over as a CO get a certain amount, and then above that too will get a certain amount. Your corporals, sergeants, and lieutenants received a flat rate. Your corporals all received $1.25, your sergeants 50 cents, and your lieutenants 50 cents. Reason being was making sure that someone with 5 years experience suddenly doesn't make more than someone with 14 years experience unless they've received certain bumps, as we like to call them, for different ideas or different things that they've received as a city employee. So there may be a few in there, but those are explained via the bump system. Was that 10 minutes? Okay.
Any questions, council? Thank you, Chandra. That will conclude department reports. City of Winter has no bid openings, public hearings, or Board of Adjustments on this agenda. The city council will move on to old business. Tonight, there are 5 actionable items under old business. Council, item number 1.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to take off the table resolution 2023-9, a starting wage agreement.
Is there a second to the motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that to take it off too.
Councilman Frank has made a motion to take off the table Resolution 2023-9, a starting wage agreement. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Schramm. Item number 2, with that item, oh wait, Council, I will ask, all those in favor of taking off the table Resolution 2023-9, a starting wage agreement, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0 to take 2023-9 off the table. Item number 2, Council, is there a motion?
You can come back
Last-
to that one later if you want to. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I can come back. One last time, on item number 2, is there a motion to approve or disapprove? Item number 2.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to disapprove.
Is there a second to this motion?
I would second that, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Clay has made a motion to disapprove of Resolution 2023-9, the starting wage agreement. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Schramm. The floor is open to comments or questions.
Is this all tied in with 3 and 4?
It
5?
is, it is all tied together. To answer your question, Councilman Glenn.
Mr. Mayor, I'll speak to my motion.
Please do, Councilman Clay.
Okay.
As the
So-
motioner.
I sent texts out individually. Chase, I don't have your number yet. I apologize about that. So my opinion is I don't like how it's coming down. And we talked and we've had side discussions about, through committee, if we need more money for our COs and the infrastructure there, let's look at budgeting through the 2024 cycle. I feel that I missed in the 2023 budget that there was 2 extra positions put in for the potential jail expansion that I don't like to speak for the whole council, but I, as a councilman, was never in favor of that. And as the lump whole of the salary, I failed to identify that there was 2 extra positions built in there. And it's been explained to me or mentioned to me that that's where the funding for this is coming from, is a reduction of those 2 full-time employees that are now not needed because there's not expansion. I don't like the process that's going about. It feels like to me is a little underhanded that it ended up into the budget. Not saying it was, that's how I feel. So the more clear, transparent way to go about it is work on the budgeting through 2024. And that's where I'm at.
I would, is there any other comment or question to follow that? Okay, at this time I'd like to, if I may, for clarification, call Jail Supervisor Lori Kalenda to the microphone.
So what we did was, you're correct, we used 2 full-time positions, and the funds were already allocated to us as the jail, and that's the funds we're coming up with for the wage scale that's in front of you. We are not asking for anything out of our budget, it's already on there. And actually, we did a study, and what we're trying to do is attract people because of the starting wage.
I was going to ask, I have a question.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, last year during the budget process, when we were creating the funding for these 2 extra positions, did you not eliminate several part-time positions to
Yes.
create the funding for this, and council was aware of that?
Yes, we did, and it was approved by council to get rid of part-time positions to add another full-time position.
thought so. I wanted to clarify.
We got rid of 3 part-time for 1 full-time.
For that 29th.
Yep, and that was through our committee. We went through our committee and then personnel, and it was approved by council.
And that was brought up during the budget retreat that day also, correct?
Yes, through our budget and through the budget retreat.
Council, any other questions?
Yeah, that's what I was
Councilman
gonna say.
Hockett.
I disagree with any underhanded stuff taking place here. You guys were upfront,
Thank you.
honest and open about that. And I remember us combining that in our committee, 3 positions for 1. There was no underhanded deals here, straightforward budget items, and now we have a need. We are 6 short right now in the jail, is that correct?
No, we're actually,
7?
uh,
7 or 8?
Depends on what minute you're talking.
we're more.
My point is,
We're more.
you know, this council, we have to do something to address that shortfall. And the idea you guys come up with to impact the incoming salaries is a good deal, I think. It could be an attraction. Is it gonna work? I have no idea. Nobody knows.
Nope.
But it's something we can do. If we do nothing, if we keep going on like we're going on right now, what are we gonna have in 1 year out? Are we gonna be down 15? Right now, our staff is stressed. They're called in on their days off, crying out loud, we're working short. I give them all the credit in the world for maintaining that, but this council, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna go forward with this? You know, the onus falls back on this council. And if you don't like the way they did this or you don't like this, well, then help us address the problem here. Why we've got such a shortfall of staff.
I don't know if we can do it in an open public forum. I would call for an executive session at this time.
The public needs to hear this. Why executive session? Let's have a
Ken-
frank talk.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a
Get
motion
this
to go in the executive
Can I-
session.
This is not a contractual or personnel issue.
I disagree. I disagree with that, Mayor.
As long as we don't bring individual positions or persons into it, it is not. a personnel decision.
I disagree.
Councilman Schramm.
I'd like to make a motion to table this and send it back to committee so that we can discuss this further.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Councilman Schramm has made a motion to table. Councilman Hockett has seconded. All in favor of tabling, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it with a majority 5-1 vote to table item number 2, the resolution 2023-9, a starting wage agreement. Item number 3.
This we kind of passed on.
If there's no motion, yeah.
Yeah.
If there's no motion. Item number 3, for a lack of a motion, will be removed from tonight's agenda. Item number 4, is there a motion? Item number 4, for a lack of motion. Oh, excuse me, there was no, it wasn't off the table, so.
Correct.
Item number 5. This is an actionable item not tied to the other 4. Council, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading for passage and approval of ordinance 1050 and ordinance amending the sanitation chapter.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Councilman Clunt has made a motion to place on second reading for passage and approval ordinance 1050, an ordinance amending the sanitation chapter. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. The floor is open to comments or questions. Council. Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Clunt,
Yes.
Councilman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle,
Yes.
Councilman Frink,
Yes.
Councilman Clay,
Yes.
and Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. That will conclude old business. City of Winter will now move on to new business. Tonight, there are 12 items under new business. Item number 1, council, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass the agreement with Nell Schlomer to provide concessions at Bailey Field for the 2023 year.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second that.
Councilman Hockett has made a motion to approve the agreement with Nell Schlomer to provide concessions at Bailey Field for the 2023 year. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Sprinkle. The floor is open to comments or questions.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, so when we did our concessions bid opening, Nell Schlomer actually only bid on McDonald's. With this, she also put in there that she'd be willing to consider Bailey's later on. She called me on Friday, asked if it was still open. I said yes. She said, can I do it? I said, let me verify with Mr. Kruger. Mr. Kruger and Parks Supervisor Marty Peterson said, yes, let her do it. That would be great. They've had quite a few people requesting that we have something down there. So she is willing to sign the agreement with the $100 deposit, only for this year. She's not willing to go any longer than that, but she is willing to do that for the remainder of this year.
Any other comments or questions at this point, council? Hearing and seeing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle.
Yes.
Councilman Frank.
Yes.
Councilman Clay.
Yes.
Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
And Councilman Clint.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 2. Is there a motion from council?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-10, a resolution amending Resolution 2023-3, authorization for application.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Clunt has made a motion to approve Resolution 2023-10. This is a resolution amending Resolution 2023-3, which was an authorization for application. Councilman Schramm has seconded the motion. Floor is open to comments or questions.
Mr. Mayor, I received a letter back from DANR not accepting, or awarding the grant, but accepting our application of the grant. They did require that we have a different resolution than what was initially passed, one that states the actual full amount of what we are asking for, which is $1,500,343. So as soon as this is approved and I can send it up to them, as well as our annual report, we will get that sent up and ready to go, so that they need it by May 22nd. They will meet June 29th to decide on the grant.
Any other comment or question, council? Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Sprinkle.
Yes.
Councilman Frank.
Yes.
Councilman Clay.
Yes.
Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
Councilman Clint.
Yes.
And Councilman Hockett.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 3 under new business. Council, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-11, a resolution setting the pool rates.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Councilman Schramm has made a motion to approve resolution 2023-11, a resolution setting the pool rates for the city of Winter. Councilman Hockett has got the second on the motion. The floor is open to comments or questions, council.
Would you like me to explain the change?
If they ask,
Please.
yes.
Please
Okay.
do. I was going to.
Thank you. So for many, many years, our pool has only ever had 2 types of pool passes, one being for an individual and one being for a family of 4. And if you add more to that family of 4, it's an additional $20. We've had many people come in asking, what else can we do? I have my mother, my mother-in-law, my teenage child, whatever, that come in and babysit. How do we get babysitters included? Well, we were allowing at least one babysitter on a family pass, but then that was becoming maybe abused a little bit. So we reached out to other communities and asked what other types of passes they have. We looked at close communities and looked at their pool versus our pool, when ours was redone, when theirs was redone. We looked at prices of other pools. We looked at a lot of different things. I will tell you that these prices are based off of what Platte, South Dakota does, and we do share a lot of similar things with Platte, South Dakota. We both have the big slide, the drop slide, the diving boards. Our size of pool is very similar. So we, in the finance office, did opt to start looking at those prices and their type of passes that they have. The passes that they have, we do believe will be a huge benefit to our community based on the type of community that we live in. We have a lot of homes that have more than 4 people in them. In fact, when I look at our previous family passes, I'd say 50%, 60%, 70% even maybe have more than 4 individuals on them. Couples passes, I think sometimes the terminology gets a little bit confusing on how we termed them. Couples pass means 2 individuals living in the same home. So it may be Councilman Frank and his roommate. They live in the same home, they want to be on that couples pass, they could do that. We had individuals last year that we had a whole house full of roommates that came in and they all wanted to be on a family pass. They could be, but then they had to add on at that point in time because they all live together. So definitely something to look into. Your private pool pass, or excuse me, your private and public lessons have not changed. That is the same as they've been for 5 years. We actually reset that 5 years ago based on the fact that our insurance said no more individual private lessons. They either need to be clocked in as a city employee or provide proof of $1 million worth of liability. Our lifeguards who are 16, 17 years old did not want to pay for $1 million worth of liability in order to get private lessons, so they opted to be paid, and that $70 rate was set for the private, $40 for public. The other type of pass that we have added is a $50 senior citizen pass for anyone over 65. They can get in for $50 a year. Again, something that we're looking at adding to our pool with our current manager and assistant manager is maybe a senior's night. Can't promise you that that will happen, but that is something that she's definitely looking into this year and next year as well.
So you added levels, but did rates go up then or not? The base
The
single
main
person
rate
one.
that went up is your individual rate, which went from $75
$100.
to $100.
Okay.
Yes. There is now no limit on your family pass, which there was a limit of 4 for $135. Now there's no limit for $200.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Clay, point of order?
we're having a conversation.
Yep, point of order.
please.
Point of order noted.
So the levels have changed. Yes, if you look at it from one standpoint, a family of 4 could get a pass for $135. Now, if they were to come in as a family of 4, it would be $200.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any other comment or questions?
You guys, you had a lot of.
Thank
No,
you for
point of order.
adding that elderly pass on there. That helps
Senior.
people,
Senior.
Senior pass. I mean, I appreciate your work on that. It's good.
Any other comment or question? Hearing none, Chair will call this question by a roll call vote. Councilman Frank.
Yes.
Councilman Clay.
Yes,
Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
Councilman Clint.
No.
Councilman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle.
No.
The ayes have it. This motion will pass with a majority 4-2 vote. Item number 4. Council, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure what to make a motion on because I see 2 versions of this ordinance in front of me. I don't know that that's a proper thing to do before a city council meeting rather than come out of committee with the version that the committee wants.
Mr. Schramm, if I may,
Thank you.
if I may, The motion would be for either one of those alternatives that are in front of you. It's not controlled by what appears on your motion calendar, so to speak, but it's based on what motion any member of council wishes to make. And of course, then during the discussion period, if the discussion leads to support for the other option, then a alternative motion could be made at that time.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, if these were in my packet, I didn't see the option to. I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 1051.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Clay has made a motion to place on first reading ordinance 1051.
Thank you.
This is a city sanitation service to provide for certain outlaw utility customers. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Sprinkle. Floor is open to detailed comments, questions, explanations.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
City Attorney Jensen, if you would, please.
Thank you. What council has in front of you is the original 1051 and then an alternative version, and let me just briefly describe each of those. The main motion, number 1051, ordinance 1051, would provide for taking city garbage service under the new contractor that starts in June and expanding that to a very limited number of places that are on the edge of town but are outside of town, but they are located where A, they are served by city utilities, and B, they are on a place where the only way to serve them for the garbage service would be on a city street. And so this grew out of the original intention of the city. One of the things had been to protect city streets when we recreated the entire program. And so what this does is allows for those, and I believe the number is 7, that came out of the finance office, identified 7 particular properties that this would apply to, and would also allow those 7. If they opted to do it, they would also have the option of opting on to the $5 a month fee to participate in use of the city's landfill. So that was the main preparation for ordinance 1051. After that was discussed then at committee and in cabinet, there was a thought process of presenting council with an alternative that would actually expand the availability of this to anybody who is what we would call the outlaw tap, city utility customers that are located outside city limits, but are close enough that they're actually getting either city water, city electricity, or both. And would then allow for our city garbage to go to serve all of those, to the extent that they opted in. It's not a mandatory thing for those folks, but it would make it available to them at the same price that they would pay if they were inside city limits.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Mr. Mayor, can
Yes,
I
Councilman Clay.
amend my motion? Do I need to change my motion completely?
You can amend it if
Okay.
you would like to go to the alternate.
Yes.
Yes. you
Mr.
can
Jensen,
amend.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to change alter my motion to the ordinance 1051 alternate. Ordinance 1051
And
alternate.
Councilman Sprinkle, would you like to
Yes.
second that? Councilman Clay has amended his motion to place on first reading ordinance 1051, the alternate.
Mr. Mayor, could we have council tell us what the difference is between the two?
Just very quickly, the original version was the 7 people. The new version, the alternate version, applies to anybody that is within that area closer around the city that includes the outlaw taps for both water and or electricity. We have approximately 50,
There's 56, so not,
56.
we're using the term outlaw tap, not all of them. So outlaw tap is only referred to water and sewer.
Correct.
We also have rural residential. Rural residential is those that are not in city limits, but within our power territory. Then we also have approximately 6 or 7 individuals that live along South County, all the way out to our wells, that are completely different class. Some of them get charged, some of them do not. This does not include those 7 along South County. This just includes those within our outlawed tap/electric service area.
Has Heartland been servicing those conglomerates?
Currently,
All of them?
I don't know. As of May of 2022, we informed them that we do not have the ability to bill for that, and it was up to them to contact whoever they wanted to. So they may have Heartland, they may have J&J, they may have clients. I have no idea. who
Even
they
though they're
contact.
paying our utilities off what you,
Correct.
Councilman Schramm, you have the floor.
So I have a question for council. Is there a reason why, if they're already on a city utility, we can't require them to be on city garbage?
There is a reason, and
I'd like to hear it.
it's because they don't live within the jurisdiction of our mandate authority. The mandate authority, I don't know how much of this you need to know or want to know, but the mandate authority basically grew out of the fact that the council originally designed a program within the city that says, if we don't mandate it, we got people that aren't getting their garbage thrown away, or they're taking advantage of letting somebody else pay for their garbage and they're not participating in it. So there was a mandate created by this city council that said, if you have city services within the city of Winter, you will pay for garbage service, period. We don't have the authority to mandate that just because they voluntarily accept our offer to provide them with some partial city utilities out there that are not a full set of city utilities. We don't have the ability to make that mandate.
Councilman Sprinkle, you have the floor.
According to our committee meeting, we wouldn't be billing those people. Whoever Heartland, if they decided to have Heartland, would bill them. If they have ours, pick it up, then he would do his billing to them, but we would add the 5 for the dump.
And we'll collect the 5.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comment or question?
Is the current, or is River Bottom, are they willing to do that, I guess? I mean, it kind of sounds like we're just telling them, you will do it.
River Bottom, I don't know that conversation has happened at this point. This is going to become an option for those people. After the bid was awarded, there was an expressed interest in developing a rural route outside the community. I can't tell you, because Troy is not here, that was one of the things he was going to follow up with, that conversation with River Bottom. I don't know if the finance office, I don't believe so at this
Mayor,
point.
We're not mandating it. We're just allowing them to choose.
We're offering them.
Yeah.
Correct.
That is correct, Councilman Clay. Councilman
But if they
Schramm.
choose us to pick it up, then River Bottom has to bill them?
That is correct.
Now, I have a question on, we're already sending them a bill. Why can't we add garbage pickup service to it?
Let me try to make this understandable. It's a little bit, with the 7 people that were locked in on city streets, we would have the authority to go ahead and handle it, even though it's a benefit to the contractor who's out there picking up garbage outside city limits. But with it limiting to those 7, we could do it. Once we go beyond that to the point that we're out on county roads, state highways, whatever, we can't give a beneficial assistance to our contractor out there, which we would be doing if we did the billing for them.
But we could do that for the 7 that are landlocked by city streets.
We could, yes, if we limit it to those 7. Yep. But under the option that.
But that's not in these.
No, the alternative that's in front of council right now is for the option to be available to everybody that's out there on these quote outlaw taps.
Any other questions, council? Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote.
This is
Actually, first reading, this is
First
just...
reading.
Chair will just call the question. All those in favor of placing first reading of ordinance 1051, the alternate version, a city sanitation service to provide for certain outlaw utility customers, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 5. Council, do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance 1052 and ordinance amending chapter 71-1 if the winter, in the winter municipal ordinance book.
Very good, Councilman.
I'll
Is it-
second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Schram. Councilman Clunt has placed on first reading ordinance 1052. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 75, Section 1 of the Winter Municipal Ordinance Book. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Schram. The floor is open to comment or questions.
Mayor, if I may.
City Attorney, Mr. Jensen.
Thank you. We wanted to really clean this up as part of the overall process of protecting the streets with trucks and things like that. And it was brought to our attention that we really needed to bring this in line with what we've been doing with the garbage trucks. Our current ordinance had the designation of truck routes. It failed to designate one that everybody says we should designate, and that's Iowa Street down between West Highway 18 and the county road. And so this will include that. But the other thing it does is it takes and it recognizes that for off the truck route, if you're regularly conducting business in winter, if you're less than 55,000 pounds, what's the difference between that and a garbage truck going around in the neighborhoods from the standpoint of the wear and tear on the street? And so it recognizes that for a basic starting point, that weight limit is allowable for pretty much anybody as long as they're otherwise in compliance with South Dakota law for how the truck is put together and whatnot. The other thing that, two things that it did. The other part of this was originally a few years ago, council had enacted a weight limit for trucks that were parking in a residential area. And they made that at 13 ton or 26,000 pounds. Well, that's not going to allow anybody to do anything. If we keep them at that 26,000 pounds, your trucks that need to make deliveries, need to pick things up. The other thing that it does is it really keeps it consistent. In other words, we're giving the same legal limits to the garbage trucks as we do to all other trucks. For those that are going to be operating above the 55,000 pounds, there's a provision already in our ordinance for when contractors are going to be hauling heavy loads on a construction job. They work with the Public Works Director to establish a haul route. They examine it before the job starts, and they examine it after it ends, and if there's damage to the road, they work out a proviso for them to pay for their damage they cause. This chapter basically says if somebody regularly or only now and then is going to be utilizing heavy loads going into the off truck route areas, they can also contact the Public Works Director ahead of time, and they need to have his consent on a signed form in order to be off the truck route. And that way it gives him the opportunity to make sure, again, that he's protecting the streets. And if somebody is in a position where they're going to be causing damage, he can protect the city's interests in that regard. Long and short of it, that's what this ordinance does.
Councilman Sprinkle, the floor is yours.
Basically, you're stating that cement trucks and all them are going to have to be under 55.
Yeah, and you may end up with cement trucks A few of them may be over that, but they will there again have to go make those arrangements with Public Works Director if they're going to be off the truck route.
Which any residential area would be pretty much.
They will. If it's a residential area, they will, yeah. Now, we did look at the 55,000 pounds. There's a lot of loads, smaller loads of concrete that go out where the truck weight is not that much, where 55,000 pounds is gonna catch a lot of their loads. They're bigger trucks, obviously they can get a lot more on, but they have several of the smaller trucks that 55,000 is gonna catch a lot of those.
The committee did hear testimony from Councilman Schramm, who did talk to certain providers in the city about this possibility.
Only within the city, yes.
Within the city. And one of your contacts indicated in the propane business that even with a full truck, they may weigh 52,000
It was
pounds.
the fuel oil, it was
Yep.
the fuel oil truck that would be 53 to 54,000, which is where we came up with the
Right.
55, making that the maximum.
And then I believe another part of your information was you'd spoke with the local cement provider who said we could make
They just make 2 trips.
2 trips, and they were very understanding of this load limit and what we're trying to do for the streets. So that's why we were comfortable moving forward with this,
Well, like I said, if they're short-handed, they're gonna make 1 trip instead of 2.
right?
But the locals that I talked to about what we should set this limit at agreed that 55 was a fair and equitable amount. So if they go over it, fine them, if we catch them.
Any other comment or question, council? Hearing none, chair will call the question. All those in favor of placing on first reading ordinance 1052, an ordinance amending chapter 75-1 of the Winter Municipal Ordinance Book, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this will move forward unanimously, 6-0. Item number 6 tonight, council, under new business. Do you have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the pay request number 7 for PCN Highway Project in the amount of $41,874.59.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Councilman Clunt has made the motion to approve pay request number 7 for PCN XO5H, the highway project, in the amount of $41,874.59. Councilman Frank has the second on this motion. The floor is open to comments or questions. Hearing none, chair will call the question. All those in favor of paying pay request number 7?
Does this have to be a roll call, Mr. Mayor?
Does not.
Does not, okay.
It's not
Mr. Mayor,
a contract.
could we have a roll call vote here?
Yes. Councilman Clay calls for the roll call. We will do a roll call. Councilman Frank?
Yes.
Councilman Clay?
Yes.
Councilman Schramm?
Aye.
Councilman Clunt?
Yes?
Councilman Hockett?
Aye.
And Councilman Sprinkle?
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously 6-0. Item number 7, council, do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we close out the pavement maintenance project at the airport and have the mayor sign.
Very good. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Councilman Clay has made a motion to close out the pavement maintenance project at the airport and have the mayor sign. The motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. Floor is open to comments or questions.
Dave said it's done, happy with it?
Yes, for the most part.
Yeah. This project actually went well. Reedy Construction is who was awarded the bid for it back in 2021. There was some issues with weather. They weren't able to get it seeded right away at the end of 2021. So it was put on the schedule to be seeded the first part of 2022. Then, of course, you have to wait, make sure it sets for so long with the concrete, make sure the seeding takes. Helms Engineering has inspected it, and Dave has given us his blessing too, that ultimately everything is completed with this project.
Other questions, council? Hearing none. Chair will call the question. All those in favor of closing out the pavement maintenance project at the airport and having the mayor sign, would you please say aye? Aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 8, council, do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 malt beverage renewal applicants.
Is there a second to the
I
motion?
will second that motion.
Councilman Clent has made a motion to approve the 2023-2024 malt beverage renewal applications. Councilman Clay with the second on that motion. Floor is open to comments or questions.
Obviously, I looked at the attached list, read over it, and I always have to ask, everything's in order, everything's applied, get paperwork. It is not.
I will ask that you do not approve the renewal for Dollar General due to lack of information provided, and Chili's Liquor due to lack of information provided.
Mr. Mayor, I would, oh, sorry, not my motion.
Yeah, I'll amend my motion.
To abstain from those two.
Remove them.
Remove them.
However it is.
Okay. Councilman Clent has made a second motion to approve 2023-2024 malt beverage renewal applications with the removal of Dollar General and Chili's Liquor. A motion has been seconded by Councilman Clay. All those in favor of approving this motion, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Council, item number 8. Do you have a motion?
We did a,
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you, Councilman Clay.
no.
Motion, item number 9. Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is it your motion?
Apparently. I am new to the Finance Committee, Mr. Mayor, but I'll make a motion for the 2022 annual report from Schoenfish and Company Incorporated.
To be approved.
Approve it?
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Clay has made a motion to approve the 2022 annual report from Schoenfish and Company. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Sprinkle. Floor is open to comments or questions.
Would you like an explanation?
Yeah, how many write-ups do you get?
This is just the annual report.
Okay.
So ultimately, the annual report is simply just verifying the numerical information. They just go through, make sure that their information matches my information that's in there. There is no write-ups in the annual report. It is the annual audit, where our policies and procedures and abilities get audited. This is just getting the numbers in there. So don't worry, they'll be back to find my screw-ups, just not until June sometime.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, chair calls the question. All those in favor of approving the 2022 annual report from Schoenfish and Company, Inc., would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 10. Council, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the 2023 Labor Day Carnival agreement with Max Carnival.
Is there a second to the motion?
I would second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Clun has made a motion to approve the 2023 Labor Day Carnival agreement with Max Carnival. The motion has been seconded by Councilman Clay. Floor is open to comments or questions.
I think they're on Main Street way too long, but it's the only carnival that'll come here.
Comment? Very good.
I agree with that.
Councilman Schramm?
Thursday through Tuesday,
Wednesday.
yeah.
It is the same agreement that was approved last year with the same company. One thing that did change, not from last year to this year, but changed last year, was rather than blocking off for that amount of time, the very first block of Main Street, they were asked to move up an additional block. The majority of the businesses on Main Street that are active that time of year were in that first block. And so there were several of those businesses who said, if it's going to be blocked that long, we'd really like it to be moved up. It did work for the company, for Max Carnivals to move it up there. There was concern as to if the incline or slope would be too much of an issue, and it was not. And obviously, the goal, and Megan and Luke know, the goal is to be off much sooner. They always plan for more time in case of weather or inclement or problems. Last year, they came up and half of their employees got sick, and so they weren't able to get it set up right away, so it gave them that extra time to get it set up. But they do understand, especially in the tear down process, that time is of the essence. And it is the $50,000 guarantee, as always. And if that gets met, 10% of proceeds of that and anything above that go back to the business that we choose.
To sell pre-sale.
So I don't hear very well. Is the carnival gonna start on the block south of Third Street then?
Yes,
Did last year too.
That is correct.
yes.
Okay. And it all, I just want to say, I'm glad we got a carnival. And as far as I've heard, Max has done well over the years. People have been very happy, very pleased we have them. We have somebody lined up to sell tickets. We're good there too.
Yep.
Okay.
I do believe so. They haven't told me no yet.
Okay, great.
The only complaint I heard last year was from Max Carnival themselves. They complained about a couple of their employees having a little too much fun, maybe. But that was it.
Now we know why it took so long to tear down.
Yeah, that's right. Flu.
Sitting in jail.
If there are no other comments or questions, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Clay,
Yes.
Councilman Schramm,
Aye.
Councilman Klent,
Yes.
Councilman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle,
Yes.
and Councilman Frank.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 11. Council, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Tripp County Water User District and City of Winter for equipment sharing.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Klent has made a motion to approve the agreement with Tripp County Water User District and the City of Winter for equipment sharing. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Frank. The floor is open to comments or questions. Mr. Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just so everybody understands what it is we're sharing with Tripp County Water User District, and that amounts to the census reading equipment that reads the information and comes back to Tripp County Water District or to the City of Winter, depending on whose equipment is being read. In other words, the one piece of equipment reads it all, and it's set up and programmed in such a way that they don't see our information, we don't see their information. It's programmed to keep everything separate, but it allows for the sharing of this equipment, saves everybody money. And that's essentially what it's all about. They have a very similar agreement with other communities where they share that information as well. I'm real familiar with the attorney that drafted this. A good agreement doesn't really show any problem or risk for us.
It's a very good insurance policy for both.
It is.
Now, this is just for, say, like, their equipment goes down, then they use ours, or our equipment goes down, we use theirs, correct?
Well, it's really a matter of sharing the equipment that reads. So it's not really a matter of even going down, it's just the fact that there's one set of reading antenna, so to speak, that reads both systems. And it just allows us to all work off that one set of antennas, like I say, and it's set up in such a way so that they don't see anything of our information and we don't see anything of theirs. But yet it's all sharing one piece of equipment.
Mr. Hockett.
Mr.
Councilman
Attorney,
Hockett.
is that a Dominion-built machine that does the computing? Just a question.
Say that again, Mike. I want to make sure I heard that.
His
correctly.
ears are on fire.
It's a machine that does a computing separately, but together,
No,
a Dominion built machine.
separately?
No, he wants to know if it's a Dominion-built device.
AKA like their voting machines. It's a Dominion built machine.
I think maybe not.
Okay, thank
A lighter moment.
you. Lighter bulb.
Council, any other questions? Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
Councilman Klein.
Yes.
Councilman Hocken.
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle.
Yes.
Councilman Frank.
Yes.
And Councilman Clay.
Yes.
The ayes have it, this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Final item under new business tonight, item number 12, the claims for the city of Winter. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve to pay the claims.
Second.
With the check
With-
reading?
With the check to Reedy?
You bet.
Yep. Councilman Hopkins, did you have a second on that? Councilman Clunt has made a motion to pay the claims for the city of Winter with the additional sum for Reedy construction on pay request number 7, and that motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. Floor is open to comments or questions.
I have a question.
Councilman
It's a
Clay.
nonsensical question, but it's a question.
It's a question.
We're making a motion to pay the claims, and we're not supposed to make a motion on anything where we have a direct financial gain from, but yet there's council pay every other time that we are approving, and it's our pay.
Correct.
That's not considered anything that you have any kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Because they're writing that check without our pre-authority anyway.
You're not in any position to take advantage of it. You're receiving only what is established through the ordinances of the city.
Okay.
And there's no discretionary money.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. I just had a problem with the whole process when the,
And that's why council pay is set up as a separate ordinance, so that establishes that.
all right.
Hearing no further questions, Chair will call the question. All those in favor of paying the claims for the city of Winter, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Councilman Schramm.
On ordinance 1051, the second page was exactly the same except for item E. Can you tell me which second page item E starts with?
The alternate, which was selected to be
Yes.
approved, item E starts out by, well, let me put it this way, reading the first few lines, it reads, in order to better serve city utility
Okay,
customers.
thank you. That's all I need, because the other one's different.
Okay.
I just got the two pages.
I wasn't even looking
mixed
at the
up.
other one, so thank you.
Yeah, the other one starts out, to protect city streets.
Oh, gotcha, yes.
Okay, that's the one I keep.
Council, we are going to go into executive session. At this time, Chair is going to allow council let's go 7-minute break, and let's resume at 7:55 with our first executive session.